So this portion is the portion on the math. So we're going to talk about what you need to know as far as math. A couple of good things about the math on the test is that there's never going to be more than about 7 math problems on the entire test. But, and most people get 1 or 2, but the max that you'll get is about 7. You can actually really miss all the math and pass the test. But if you miss all the math and some federal, then you're in trouble, okay? So there's some basic things that you need to know. But before we even get going on that, there's a few tips I'm going to give you to write down, and you need to remember them as we go through this section. These are things that they're not going to remind you about. You're supposed to automatically know this in dealing with the math. So tip number one that I need you to know when doing the math. You always have to start with the gross monthly income. You always start with the gross monthly income. They're going to give you the net or the annual or the biweekly or whatever. You need to know that before you can compute the problem, you're supposed to break it down to the gross monthly income, and then you can do the rest of the math. So that's number one. Start with the gross monthly income. Tip number 2. Whenever they give you the sales price and the appraised value, which one do you think you use? The lower of the two. The lower of the two. Whenever the problem gives you the sales price and the appraised value, the one you use for the calculation is the lower of the two. And I always have people that say, well, in my office we do this, or I remember it used to be this. If you want to pass this test, you're going to use the lower of the two. Tip number 3 is don't take any shortcuts when calculating the income. No shortcuts when calculating the income. There's 52 weeks in a year, 26 biweekly pay periods, 24 bi-monthly. So if they say, what is the payment for, or what is the income to use for $600 a month, you can't take 600 times 4. You have to take 600 times 52 weeks in a year divided by 12. If you take the shortcut and just say 600 times 4, your answer is going to be wrong because there's some weeks that have more than 4. So no shortcuts when calculating the income. Calculate the income the long way. The next tip is make sure you understand the difference between biweekly and bi-monthly. It's not the same thing. Understand the difference between biweekly and bi-monthly. Bi-weekly is every other week. So there's 26 pay periods bi-weekly. Bi-monthly is just twice a month. It could be the 1st and the 15th or the 5th and the 20th. There's 24 bi-monthly pay periods. So you have to make sure you understand the difference. If I were to ask you or tell you that I'm going to give you $1,000 a month, do you want it bi-weekly or bi-monthly? You want it bi-monthly? Then you're only going to get it 2 times a month, 24 times. If you want it bi-weekly, you're going to get 26 pay periods in a year. So again, if I'm going to give you $1,000 and I'm giving you the choice on whether you want to get it bi-weekly or bi-monthly, how do you want to get it? Bi-weekly, so you can get a couple of thousand more, right? So make sure you understand that, the difference between bi-weekly and bi-monthly.